Good morning. So, what we got here is another 2004 E-Blue. What I'm going to be doing right now is I'm going to be installing new brakes. I'm going to get these sway bars installed because they were just kind of like halfway installed. This is someone's project. And I'm going to work on reinstalling the door molding, so I'm going to go over what it takes to do that. So this is kind of our list of the couple things that we want to do. I'm sure we're going to come across some other things that we might address at the same time. But right now, these are our main goals that we're going to get accomplished on this one here today. So I'm going to take you off the tripod here, and I'm going to show you some of the parts that we have to install and where they need to go. Quick overview of what we have. This car has the rear Hotchkiss sway bar kind of installed. Here is the rest of the parts that are supposed to go for that. It's actually, these are the front bushings, and these are the rear brackets and bushings that actually go onto the frame, and they're not installed yet. So I don't know how long whoever's been driving it has not had that stuff installed. There's also a bag here with the new front end links for this sway bar when it gets installed. Now, this is off the car. Not quite sure why, but it actually goes here. So we have to clean all that tape off and then get tape back onto that and then reinstall that part. Now, these are some of the brakes. This was ordered from a seller on eBay. So they seem to look pretty decent. I think this was priced pretty fairly. That's the best way to say that. Get these boxes out of the way. Alright, now these are the rear rotors. You can see they're slotted and drilled. Alright, now here is the front ones. They're slotted and drilled also. So here are our new rotors to install. Here are our pads. This is the front pads right here. Okay, look pretty decent. They got the shim plate on the back. These do not come with any rattle clips. So I guess that's, if it's something you need those, that'll be something you'll need to find. Okay, so based off of this pile right here, we've already got our molding knocked out of the way. That's where that has to go. It's pretty easy to figure out where we need to go here. You can see there's absolutely no brake pad left there. Where our brakes go. Here's our front. Here's our rear. They're pretty much shot, so we're just going to take care of that. Now, hopefully there's enough light down here. You can see that there's no brackets to hold the sway bar to the frame rail here, okay, on either side. So we're going to get those installed. Okay, and let's go up here, check out up front. Laying down in here. So here's the front sway bar coming across, so we're going to actually remove that and then get the matching Hotchkiss sway bar installed. Alright, well, the rear brakes are actually pretty easy. Sometimes I'll just come here, and sometimes you can pull on them just enough to get them to compress the cylinders, or I'll take a tie bar like this, slow, steady pressure, pushing in behind the brake pad. You can get the caliper to completely depress. Now they're 10 mil, so top lifts off, just like that. You can see. Sometimes this is a little easier with a smaller screwdriver. But just all you gotta do is pop this up. And you can slide brake shoes off. One pulls out. If this doesn't come off, you can hit here, here, here. It kind of breaks it loose, and then you can smack on the back. I'm sure that this probably doesn't have good e-brake shoes. If it does, I'll be impressed. And it actually does. So that's kind of cool. So that's one less thing that needs to be addressed on this. Now we have, these are labeled. This one states passenger rear. This one states driver rear. So we're actually working on the driver's rear right now. Pop this clean off. All right. Let's grab our rear brake shoes. Now, another thing you want to do is double check and make sure that these are moving freely and that the rubber seal is good and not damaged. This allows the brake caliper to float and release pressure. So this one here is actually going to be kind of tight. A little gentle tap without damaging the brake pad. Front one just kind of goes. Gonna slide it down over. There we go. There we go. Okay. That's installed where it needs to be. All right. I'm not sure if this is actually coated with anything, but I'm going to take and get some brake cleaner and I'll rinse this off. Have to get too crazy with it. Just spray a little bit on the brake surface. All right. There we go. That's installed. You can actually, if you want to, you can clean these up with a wire brush if you so desire. Everything looks good. The brake pad, you're going to want to push brake pad and caliper. You're going to want to push your sliders back. The bottom is what you want to get in first. All right, you might have to pull back on the slide, which is what I just did. Okay, there's that. Pull back on this slide. All right, see, we did encounter a small problem. So there's a difference between these two here, it looks like. Some of them have it, some of them don't. This one here actually looks like it has the slot on it. So you need to make sure that this one goes on the right side. Sometimes it's good to make mistakes because that helps use, when you're watching this, see what needs to be done. Okay, I will show you the difference as soon as I pop this off of here. Okay, now, you seen we were putting the brake shoe down in like this and then sliding the top over. That's the way the caliper's made. It has notches on the back. And if you look at these pads, this one here has a hole notched and this one's slotted. So what we need to do is this bottom's going to go down over and then slide in, and we can't do that if we have this at the top. So let's get this brake pad in here. All right, we'll push the slider back. Okay, they're lined up down where they need to be. Let's push this top slide back. It's down in. Take your bolts. I actually have to, normally you wouldn't have to do this, but this one should have been installed before I installed the caliber, so we had to pop it back off. Okay, now we can get this down in where it needs to be. See, no hammer, just light taps with my hand. Everything should just go right on the way, without beating on it. The last thing you need to do is if you beat on it with a hammer, you could damage something. Alright, just a 10 mil. Get this tightened down. Alright, so it's the exact same for the install on the other side. Alright, so now we're on to our fronts. These are usually just as easy as the rear. There is a little bit more involved with this because you have to remove the caliber and then the caliber bracket to actually swap out the brake rotor. So these here are 12s. Okay, alright, now you can see we have no brake pad material left on either side of this bench, but here we go. Now I usually just give them a little tap, loosen them up. I have no problems with these caliber bracket bolts being tight. Alright, got that off. Always check these, make sure they're good, and moving. Just like that, you can remove your rotor. The fronts are also labeled front driver's side, and that's where we're at. Let's give it a little spritz. I like to do the inside because then I can touch the outside and get it installed. Sometimes I like to take and rinse these off also. With the brake pads, I believe the fronts, all four are the same. So, there's nothing different from side to side on these except for this. Okay, I believe this will go toward the inside lower, just like this. Now, there's another thing. You want to make sure that these are moving around in here a little bit easily. I've seen aftermarket ones fit into here kind of tight. Now, as far as compressing the caliber, you could have did it the same way I did the rears, by pressing in with a pry bar slowly. The front seems to be a little bit more complicated when it comes to that. You always want to have a pad to push against this caliber. This is not metal. It's like a, I don't know, plastic, carbon, some kind of a compound, but it's not metal. So you definitely don't want to push on that. So we'll take this. I have a compressor tool that I can spin in with a socket, or sometimes I'm able to use a large pair of channel locks. I just kind of press them, or you could use a C-clamp if you have one of those to compress this by hand. There's a couple different ways you can do this. Sometimes I just don't sometimes I just can't. I just don't have it to compress them that way. So I end up using this. I just put it down in here. Get it centered up. Sometimes also with these, I've noticed that the calipers actually seize up just because of age and when they're out all the way. Okay, that you should check because of how far this was pressed out is the amount of brake fluid that is in your cylinder. Looks like nobody's ever added any to this, so we'll be able to compress the cylinder, push our brake fluid up. It'll bring this level up and it shouldn't force anything out. Alright, it's as easy as that. Got our cylinder compressed. Slide this thing down over. Get your sliders in. There is the springs on the top, so you kind of have to make sure you come in even on these. Like that. Okay. And then all you have to do is get your caliper bolt started on the top and the bottom. See, it's got a little bit of a springiness to it. That's what it should be doing. You just want to make sure that you have those lined up so that they fit. There's a little channel in behind here. And these are the springs I'm talking about. This is what, see, pushes down. Keeps the brake shoe from rattling around in there. And then just take your ratchet or your wrench or whatever you got. Snug them up. There you go. We gotta rinse this outer side off, so just take a little bit of this. Front brakes are done. It's the same for the other side. I'm going to get that knocked out of the way, and then we'll see what we're going to go to next, whether it's the sway bars or getting this side trim on.